There we go. All right. So we're getting ready to stream, John. We're live now.
Oh, sweet.
So people can
Always wanted to
hear
be live.
us. If there's anybody in the chat room, let us know that you're here. John and I are here to do a little podcast style show this afternoon.
That's right.
Kind of improvising, given the current situation. We may make this a regular thing. We've been doing a podcast called Eat Sleep Code for a little while now, and we've been bringing back that show a little bit at a time. And I decided why not do it live on Twitch so we can take questions from folks.
That's right.
And
this gives us a better connection with folks as well, I guess. You can see our faces and see our expressions, which is always helpful.
Yeah, I mean, it's, the current situation is a lot of people working from home.
Right.
A lot of, not any in-person type of stuff going on. So this should give us, give people, some human interaction throughout the day anyway.
Yep.
Let's see. Hey, we actually do have some people in the stream. So ST Border, welcome to the show. Good afternoon. John Bristowe and I. John, why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself real quick while we get up and running here?
Oh, it's pretty easy. I'm just a Canadian living down in Australia. So I don't know how I got down here, but here I am. So ex-Microsoft, ex-Telerik, now with Octopus Deploy. Been in this business or this game, so to speak, for quite a while. Just happy to chat with folks out there. So
we're just going to do a little podcast type thing this afternoon. We usually cover topical things, usually tech related. So we might have some tech that's been blended into COVID news because that's pretty much all the news we have to work with today. So we're making the best of a bad situation, right, Tom?
Hey, I'm still trying to hack my Raspberry Pi here, so come on, that's got to be news, right?
And apparently the world has not stopped turning because I have all the dogs in the house barking. That means somebody's broken quarantine and is knocking at our front door, which it's been
that's all right.
It's been quite the experience with our governor and our local officials have said like nobody needs to be out unless they're on like a grocery store run or something, and every day there's some I'll try to be nice. There's someone that should not be there whose IQ may be in question, knocking at our door to sell magazines or round up kids to play or do something else they're not supposed to do.
Interesting.
Yeah. So,
just for folks who aren't aware, I mean, it's definitely happening all over the place. I'm down here in Australia, and we're definitely limited in terms of what we can do. I know that's the case around the world. I think I heard a stat like over at least 1 billion people on the planet are in quarantine, or not quarantine, but in, lockdown, so to speak. So I think it's definitely makes sense. The suppression and mitigation methods that are in place to try and combat this thing are definitely going to make an impact and flatten that curve. So we're doing it for a good reason. And I think if people just, keep to it, I think we'll definitely get through this.
That's the plan anyway. And as I hear the dogs going for a second round, I have my doubts, John. I have my doubts.
All right.
ST Border from Chandler, Arizona said that school's canceled through the remainder of the year. And that's pretty much our situation here as well in Kentucky. I don't know how things are down in Australia.
Well, New Zealand has issued a nationwide level 4 lockdown. So you cannot go anywhere unless you're by yourself, and you can only go somewhere if you're, I believe, shopping for groceries or exercising. We're in level 3, I believe. It differs from state to state. That's why it's difficult to say exactly what level we're in. But we can only limit our group gatherings to 2, I believe. I know that there are lockdowns in various municipalities around Southeast Asia. Some countries are definitely doing a better job of testing and all that sort of thing. So the obvious ones are South Korea, Singapore, etc. But pretty much else, it's a sort of interesting to watch what's happening. So parts of Africa, so I saw a report about South Africa. That's going to be really difficult to manage.
Yeah.
But most of Europe's on lockdown. Most of the United States and Canada's in lockdown. South America is still, I think Mexico, I saw a report recently, a few days ago, that they were slowly getting there. But yeah, eventually everything's kind of going to grind to a halt.
Yeah, and it's going to have to. Chat room's asking what are the levels that's new. I think it's state by state, country by country, even possibly county by county.
State. Correct. Those are levels. They're not universal. They're just their definition. But I believe level 4 is the highest level that they have in New Zealand and in Australia, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm not an expert in these in any stretch, but that's what's on the news.
Yeah, I went out to get gasoline for the lawn equipment and stuff this weekend, and it was surprising how many people just aren't listening to this stuff. The parking lots were full, streets were busy, so evidently they're going to have to start getting a little more with police patrols and stuff to start getting people to stay inside. But anyway, we shall get to the tech-related stuff here. First of all, let's kick things off the right way and say hello and welcome to Eat Sleep Code, the official Telerik podcast. I'm your host, Ed Charbeneau. With me is my co-host, John Bristowe, who we gave a good introduction to a few minutes ago. So we're gonna talk about some tech news. Let me switch over to my other view here. We are live on Twitch on the Code It Live channel today, and we are podcasting as well. So this will be recorded and put up on the what's it called? SoundCloud channel that we have. Too many services, too many of the things to talk about today. I've had so many new services I've had to get used to lately, between Zoom and Skype and Teams and Twitch and the others.
Yeah, you got to sympathize for people who have never been exposed to this before. You and I have been working from home for a long time. I've been working from home since, I think 2003, so long time. But for folks who are new to this, obviously they're going to have to navigate their way through all this. The good news is that it just requires a rhythm and some habits, some good habits. And once you get into those habits, I think it becomes kind of the new norm. It's going to have to be, at least for the short to medium term, for sure.
So I'm going to kick things off with the only non-COVID news I think we have. This is a little developer tip of mine. It's more on the developer designer side of things, maybe front-end UI developer tip. This is a Twitter account called EveryColorBot, @EveryColorBot. It's a fun little follow. Basically, every day you get a new color. That's it.
In hexadecimal.
Yeah. It tweets a new color every day. And it's colors, all of them. That's
Dude, this has 184,000 followers.
What can I say, man? It literally
and they have
says,
a GitHub page. What is the GitHub page going to do?
What
possible code could they possibly need for this?
Maybe it's the bot itself.
Yeah, the magic bits. Okay, I'm looking at the GitHub page here. Randomly selecting colors without repeats. Okay, so generates an image. Obviously, there's a lot of them because you've got a 24-bit color scheme. And then statelessness, obviously, is the other aspect of the server to issue the tweets. So, yeah, not bad. Written in Ruby. EveryColor.rb. Here we go. All right. Looks pretty simple.
Simple, straightforward, and cool.
Yeah.
If you want to...
I wouldn't say cool, but,
Oh, come on. That cuts deep, right, my friend.
Yep.
I mean, it's pretty neat, though. It's using Ruby. I like Ruby. It's a pretty good pretty nice programming language. I don't want to say little. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty popular, widespread programming language. It's a very functional one. I like it. It's fun to work in. This has full source code up online, and like John said, it does all the things, tweets and creates screen images and all that. But you can follow the Twitter account if you're not even super interested in the Ruby code. It's fun because it tweets a different color every day, and maybe you're bored with your Windows background profile or whatever, or maybe you're working on an app that's using Bootstrap and it's boring and you just want to switch up the color a little bit, and this kind of shares a different palette, or not even a palette. You can build a palette from it, but share something new every day. Puts a little color in your
All
feed.
right.
So it's COVID news, COVID news, COVID news, COVID news, color, COVID news.
Yeah.
So that's my little developer tip.
Awesome. Love it.
Yeah, good stuff. Let's see. There's a Reddit channel. Is this something you wanted to talk about, John?
Yeah, there's a couple of I've been tracking this for quite a while, as I'm sure everyone has, and there's a lot of news and information out there. One source of information there's two sources that I'll point out that I find pretty good. First is the subreddit, which is the COVID-19 subreddit, which is at reddit.com/r/COVID19. And this is basically a scientific subreddit devoted to basically any scientific papers, medical papers, etc. It's not anecdotal. It's basically evidence-driven, scientific-driven around COVID-19. And it's really interesting to hear kind of the scientific community around, obviously, the virus and the impacts it has on the human body, and sort of the anecdotal, in some cases, evidence that's out there regarding certain treatments. There's a variety of treatments out there. For example, there's a variety of news around vaccines, etc. But they also report on the data that's there. And so I've been following this subreddit for a while. I find it quite nice. It's better than the coronavirus subreddit, which is a more popular one, but tends to be a little bit more
factual,
very fear-mongering, I think. Yeah, this one's a little bit more factual. This one's basically focused on, like, are masks effective? What is the transmission rate like? What are we seeing accurate test results? What are the types of antibody and antigen tests that are available? What are their accuracy rates, etc.? And so I find that knowledge is power, and that I find that when you go from a state of fear and panic to a state of okay, we're now past that. Now what? Let's learn as much as we can. I find that subreddits like this are good. I try to avoid the comments. I try to just focus on the articles that are there. The comments help. They give some perspective from folks like virologists, etc., who are obviously studying these things full time. But I find that it actually helps me understand more about what's going on there. So that's one. That's a good resource, I find. The other resource that I like quite a bit is there's a YouTube channel that started up. The gentleman who's running this, his name is Dr. John Campbell. He's a retired nursing teacher in England, and he's got an excellent YouTube channel, which is at youtube.com/user/Campbell Teaching. That's one word. And if you just search for Dr. John Campbell, he's actually really good at providing sort of a daily update and giving his opinions on what we're doing as a society to try and combat this disease. And he does give some really good practical tips of what governments should be doing in terms of, like, instituting isolation techniques and distancing, et cetera, et cetera. He called it a pandemic well before anyone else did. And I've been following him since January, and I found that the information and insights that he provides are excellent. He does have a really calming demeanor as well, which is obviously helpful in this time. But Dr. John Campbell is definitely a YouTube channel I would recommend if you're looking for something to keep abreast or keep updated on the latest information regarding the COVID-19.
Yeah, I just scanned through this while you were talking here a minute ago, and just judging by the headlines, it seems like this is also not very political, which politics is, like, heavily intertwined in the subject. Sure. But when you start talking about something medical like this, I mean, politics is always going to play a part in it, but there is a time and a place. And it looks like it's been focused on the actual medical information sans the political information, which you also need that discussion.
I found that it's just interesting. Like, there's lots of stuff that I didn't know before, and so I've been actually kind of teaching myself a little bit around, how this virus actually infects the body, and learning about how this sort of RNA sequencing occurs within the human cell, and how it actually infects the body and the symptoms, et cetera, et cetera. So I think you go from a place of kind of unknown and nervousness to a place of being better informed, and then being able to kind of better educate yourself around these things so that it's not as unknown.
Hmm.
And obviously take everything with a grain of salt, especially around some of the things that are being touted out there. But I find knowledge is power, and I've always enjoyed reading about things like this, and I found this incredibly fascinating. So those are two resources I would definitely recommend.
Yeah, and ST Broader in the chat room says, two tests we do need. Do I have the virus? Do I have the antibodies? That's very true. I think globally those tests are starting to pick up some steam, which is part of the attribution to the numbers that we're seeing. And hopefully we get the testing down. Unfortunately, this probably won't be the only time we see this happen in history. So we need those tests in place for next time. And from what I've read, there's an interesting article. I wish I would have had a link to it here. It was in the Atlantic. They were talking about what the future looks like with this type of thing. And it was a very relaxing article because it talks about the more optimistic side of things.
Sure.
That, by the time this may happen again, whether it's fall or next spring, we'll have tests in place and things to contain things very rapidly, so this spread does not go bananas again. And Sambasu in the chat room, coworker in front of mine, has posted that link in chat, and I'll pop it up here on the screen as well.
Yeah.
Let's see, I've got to get it to the right box. I'm working through some remote boxes here, and there we go, the Atlantic. This was really nice because they not only had a nice read here, but they did it in, they had somebody read it and put it in SoundCloud. And it's called How the Pandemic Will End. Very, very well written and thought out piece. And like I said, it's got some good optimistic points to the read. And of course, it's educated guesses. We can't tell the future, but at least it made sense. It wasn't fear-mongering and, end of the world scenarios. It was, saying how we can overcome and how life will continue after this is all over.
Yeah, one of the best sort of, I guess, if you're looking just for something to get the bare bones and then, okay, I'm up to speed. There was a great podcast, Joe Rogan podcast, episode 1439 with Michael Osterholm. He's an infectious disease expert, and he had him on at the beginning of March, and they did about 2 hours or so talking about not only this disease, but other diseases as well, Lyme disease, for example. He had written a book called Deadliest Enemy and Our War Against Deadly Germs. And it's funny, if you go back into the YouTube history, he did a presentation back in 2015 where he's talking about this stuff. So lots of great information in that one podcast if you're looking just for the cliff notes, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good show. The Joe Rogan podcast is one of my favorites. There's always something interesting on there, and it doesn't surprise me that he hasn't had somebody on years before the event actually happened.
Right.
So I've got the next article up here, and this is looks like one of your own, John. It's lessons learned porting Octopus server to .NET Core 3.1, so we can shift gears a little bit, a little more tech.
Yeah, so just
related.
a little bit on the technical side. We recently at Octopus made a shift over to .NET Core. So our server and cloud products both run on .NET Core, specifically .NET Core 3.1. And there's a lot of lessons that we learned during that engineering effort. And so this is a blog post that we had written up where obviously we made some good insights, or we tried to share some insights around what we learned during the .NET Core transition. And so, some of the things that obviously come to mind, obviously know the differences and plan for the differences between Windows and Linux. That's a given. There's a variety of things that will differ between those two environments, and that's pretty much everyone knows that. But it also comes into very specific things like auth providers. Octopus has a very strong authentication story, especially when communicating with the various parts and pieces that it has, what we call tentacles, which are like worker agents that sit on machines, and then Octopus server, which is the thing that coordinates it. You need to have strong authentication and security protocols between those two. And so there were some learnings that we made there. Number two, sharpen your debugging skills for both Linux and Docker. So Docker is obviously a key technology now for a lot of developers. And one of the things that we did during our transition is obviously in our transition to .NET Core and incorporating Linux as a target platform, notably macOS as well. There are things that we needed to make sure that we did, and also default configs that we need to assume around that, but also Docker. And so, for example, running as non-root or non-admin, how we go around certificate management, etc. So there's a lot of learnings that we made there. And then finally, we were able to basically provide a great facility for our customers by providing what are called self-contained packages. So .NET Core now has this ability to ship these self-contained packages, which allows you to basically roll it out into one deliverable or package. So it eliminates things like dependencies, it improves your support, and obviously the tooling around this is actually getting really, really good. So there were obviously some trade-offs we had to make, but in this article we detailed all of them. So if you're at all interested in going to .NET Core, which I would strongly encourage that you consider, these are some of the things, the observations that we made in our source that we encountered during our transitions. And so basically, in terms of that port, we not only went to .NET Core, but it facilitated a move towards things like Linux, Docker containers, and then for obviously that sort of scale, Kubernetes. And so those are the ways in which we tried to tackle that problem.
It looks like you've got support for Visual Studio, Writer, Visual Studio Code, and all that stuff too.
Sure. Yeah. We're big fans of Rider. It's kind of a 50-50 split within the company right now in terms of who uses what, in terms of our IDE. But a lot of folks like Rider, a lot of folks like Code. I think both are good. I think both have their advantages. But yeah, definitely doesn't hurt to have a lot of tools in your toolbox.
Definitely. Yeah, we have a pretty diverse line of tool choices amongst our team here. As you know, you were part of that team at one time. We did the quarantine coding the other day. This was a fun mini conference that we did. So a lot of conferences are changing, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But there's been a lot of cancellations this year, and I think that landscape is going to change for the coming generation. But to do something short term, to try to fill in where a lot of those conferences were canceled, we decided to do a 12-hour kind of coding hackathon, marathon type of thing. We had our team split into teams of two. So it was me and Alyssa Nichol, and then it was Sam Basu and TJ Vantel, and we both split up to do some fun coding exercises. And TJ and Sam created a work from home list app to kind of manage work from home tips and tricks. And then Alyssa and I created a service that you could create an app to enter in all of the places in town that do curbside food service. So if you're interested in supporting your local restaurants and stuff, you can just go in and key in, I want these restaurants in my list, and then you could select items out of the list and then randomly choose one from the list. Because we all know, sitting at home with family and kids, you're gonna have arguments over what's for dinner. So you could have the app randomly choose, and Alyssa built a really cool roulette wheel in CSS and JavaScript that spun and would pick from your list of choices. So you could say, I want these 6 to 12 restaurants in my roulette wheel, and then one of those would end up being dinner, and they're all curbside services that you enter in by hand. We tried to find a service on the outside that was offering up those things, but I think it's more of a community, local community thing, because you don't know. You can Google search food near me, but you don't really know what's open and what's doing curbside unless you're paying attention at the local level. I think right for our area, it's a small town, so everybody posts those things on Facebook. So we actually have a community Facebook page here. Yeah, it's a small town, man. Small
Yeah,
town.
yeah. Yeah, we've got something similar going down, or in various parts of Australia. Yeah, it's not just Australia; it's everywhere. But these virtual happy hours, have you seen these things where
Yeah,
people jump on the same Zoom call and have a drink? So
yeah. We we have our Facebook page. We don't have. We live all too far apart for like. I've seen some people are doing like singing and other like
sure.
performance art type things to try to keep some kind of human interaction. Somebody
Yeah,
was
no one wants to see me sing. Trust me. I think that's the last thing people want to see.
there was somebody in Italy that was projecting movies like into like
Oh, okay.
the side of a large building to kind of like get everybody on the same show and
Yeah,
enjoy a
yeah,
movie
yeah, yeah.
together, which I thought was really cool. Unfortunately, if you tried that in the US, like whoever owns the rights to that movie would probably find you and sue you because that's how we roll here. Uh, sorry, I had to put a negative spin on it, but it's just the truth. Like, especially, oh gosh, God forbid you do it with a football game. They will come down on you so fast.
Oh, well, I don't think anyone's playing right now, so maybe they could show old highlights.
That's what they're doing. I can't remember where I saw it. I think it was Hulu, maybe. Somebody's rerunning NFL.
Okay,
So there's no games on. So maybe it was ESPN or something. I have Hulu. I don't pay attention to the channels. It's just I flipped
gotcha.
through and I saw like it said like the best of. It's like okay, cool. We can do that. There's no live
Yep.
games right now, but we can do the replays. Just don't try to project it on a wall here. Somebody will come get you for it. Uh,
So, anyways, how did the quarantine coding go for you guys?
it was a lot of fun. What's great is we've got the Twitch chat room, and people are a lot of fun on Twitch. And they
Oh yeah,
we did we tried to do a little bit of interactive stuff on ours. We're still trying to get used to this whole experience here, but what
sure.
we
Yeah, yeah.
did is we wanted to fill out the app with some generic information. So we just kind of asked the chat room, like, come up with fictitious restaurant names so we can like populate our database. And like the
Yeah,
chat room
it's like
fills
improv,
up.
right?
Yeah.
I need a name of a profession, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I do some streaming every Friday on my channel on the Blazor
Right.
framework, and the channel is the best debugging experience you'll ever get, man. I mean, it's better than
Sure.
IntelliSense or the compiler. Like people catch errors like as you type them. So it's a lot of fun to do live coding. Some people are a little scared of it. They don't want somebody looking over their shoulder while they code. But if you get used to it, it's not bad. It's a lot of fun. So especially when you don't have office people to hang out with during the afternoon, you can tune into Twitch on many of the shows that are out there these days. Jeff Fritz has a great channel, and there's a lot of people
Sure.
on his coding live coding team. I'm one of them, but there's many that do all
Yeah,
sorts
live
of cool
coding's
stuff.
interesting. I mean, it definitely follows that maximum. I mean, if you're going to walk on thin ice, you might as well dance. So definitely brings out the fun aspect, and there's no safety net underneath this tightrope sort of appeal.
Yeah, exactly. Like the analogy I usually use is the NASCAR one. So I'm sure you're familiar with what NASCAR is. Most
Oh yeah,
people know what
yeah, yeah.
NASCAR is. So
Let's drive in a circle and smash into each other, right?
yeah, so there's people that go and they admire the technology and the fast engines and the tuning of the
Oh,
tires
dude,
and
they're down to like the thousandths of a second. You know, it's
yeah.
insane.
There's an insane amount of science that goes behind it
Yeah, yeah,
in technology and stuff, but there's also a fraction of the audience that's just there to see you pile up.
sure.
And I think Twitch brings the same thing. Like there's people to see
The
us
crash.
and enjoy the experience of us coding, and then there are people
Yeah,
to
yeah.
watch us crash and burn, and that's all good too. Like
Yep.
I've been doing this long enough. I've been doing this 15, 20 years, and I'm gonna make mistakes, and I don't care if people see. Like that's how we learn. So
Yep.
let's
Agreed.
see. So chat room again is kind of saying the same thing. It's this is something that people really like, especially if you don't have other adults in the house to ping ideas off of. Like you've got
Right.
the chat room and the live Twitch host, whoever's hosting the channel should be doing a good job of, talking to listeners and keeping everybody entertained. And I think there's going to be a lot of people trying it over the next couple months, especially the next couple weeks. And, wish the best to everybody that's doing it. And I think the people that really stick with it are going to learn how to kind of entertain as they go along and make something really fun out of it, which is kind of the point. I don't think anybody's going to be set to retire off of their live coding channel, but it's definitely a lot of fun.
Speak for yourself. I have every intention to.
Yeah, I'll buy a Toyota off of my earnings, and by Toyota I don't mean the car. I mean like a toy Jedi Yoda.
Got it.
Yeah, pun intended. All right, so let's move on. Azure. We're talking about people, jumping on Twitch streams and other tech and stuff. It looks like Microsoft is seeing an uptick in their cloud services due to
this
said outbreak.
Yeah, this is bananas, this story. This got posted on March 28th, so about 2 days ago, but I guess where you're coming from. So they posted an update on the Azure blog entitled Update Number 2 on Microsoft Cloud Services Continuity. And in that post, this is the most insane thing. They say, we have seen a 775% increase of our cloud services in regions that have enforced social distancing or shelter-in-place orders. And that is insane. 775% increase. So other stats that they include here, we have a significant spike in Teams usage. We now have more than 44 million daily users. They've generated over 900 million meeting and calling minutes on Teams daily in a single week. Windows Virtual Desktop usage has grown more than 3 times. And government use of public Power BI to share COVID-19 dashboards with citizens has surged 42% in a week.
Yeah, as you're talking about all this, I don't think you can see what I'm doing on the stream, but I've actually zoomed in on it, and I'm highlighting all these things as you're talking. 775% increase in cloud services is insane. It's not like Azure's a small thing to begin with. No. You're talking about one of the largest platforms in the world scaling up 700%.
Yeah, I mean, this is just to support businesses who have been able to make the adoption to work from home, right? Mm-hmm. So, you have to think there's a significant percentage. I don't know if it's the majority, but there is a significant percentage of offices who haven't converted or can't convert. So you're looking at even a subset of what people are able to do with this technology. So this is not even reflective of the entire society if they wanted to. So, that's just bananas, one. 2, it's outstanding from Microsoft's perspective. My God, they've been able to stand this infrastructure up very quickly and been able to scale. Talk about validation if you're one of the engineers or architects on this platform. I mean, all credit to the Azure team to be able to ramp up that much. And other services as well, telcos, streaming services, etc. Like Zoom has barely been down. I mean, it's just been unbelievable. I think that really validates people's trust in this infrastructure, which is essential, which is critical infrastructure. Yeah. That we could certainly. I mean, there is this prospect that people are obviously raising with their employers. Like, listen, this stay-at-home thing might work out for us, and maybe we should consider keeping it, So that is something that I think a lot of people are realizing. Now, obviously, it's highly disruptive because people are told to stay in place and they have no home office or they're in an apartment. They've got kids running around the background. All of that is fine. If you're in an organization where, you're expecting picture perfect meetings on Zoom or whatnot, I think you need to reset your expectations. The reality is most people have never worked from home, and it's new for a lot of people. So give it with some leniency. But my God, for Microsoft to be able to continue to run operations as effectively as they are, I mean, bravo to them. That is really outstanding.
Yeah, and I've highlighted another section of this article here as you're talking, and it says, have there been any service interruptions? And it says, despite the increase in demand, there have not been any significant service disruptions. And this is globally, and they're saying they have a 99.99 success rate. And like you said, for them to be able to scale 775% and not see more than a blip in any kind of downtime is just phenomenal.
Right.
And then chat room says, SG Broader again with the comment that this is just Azure. Imagine the rest of the services too. We're not going to try to play any favorites here. AWS is another big one.
Yes.
I don't know what
Google
Apple's doing these days. I don't know if they're still piggybacking off folks, if they have their own server infrastructure, but I can assume.
Well, they definitely have their own infrastructure for sure.
Do they? Yeah. I don't keep up with Apple News myself. I know early on they used Azure as a backplane, but I'm sure they have their own stuff by now, and I haven't heard any drops in like iCloud or any of that stuff either. The big three and then some look like they're just chugging along. Business, I won't want to say as usual, but you know what I mean. As far as
it's certainly not
interruptions go,
business as usual. But it's. I think if you ever want to validate your platform, there's great ways to test your platform. This is certainly one of them. I've argued that you should put your kid in front of a keyboard and slap on the keyboard to test your software. It's always a good way because you get some really interesting inputs. But certainly, if you ever want to test your scalability, my gosh, this is a great way to do it. So, it's really, really. I'm really pleased with how this has turned out for them in terms of their ability to scale. I mean, all credit to Microsoft. I mean, this requires a Herculean effort on their part. So I'm actually quite impressed.
It looks like they're monitoring the Xbox Live strain as well.
Every kid's playing right now.
Yeah, I know. We just added a Switch to the mix because we had this is probably a good thing to talk about. I mean, this is reality. We've got a daughter that has a birthday smack in the middle of all this, and she's turning 13 in the middle of all of this nonsense, and you can't have friends over for a party. You can't do anything fun. So we decided to get her a Switch and get like a family set of controllers and stuff. And I know we're probably not the only ones doing those type of things, getting different, games that we can play as a family and stuff. So you're definitely going to see an uptick in all of the online things as this stuff happens.
Yep. It's just the way it is for now. I'm more than confident that we'll definitely go to a return of some semblance of normality. But for now, this is the new norm.
Yeah, I meant to pick up on this earlier when we were talking about the Code It Live quarantine coding thing, and the events, like the live events, in-person events, have taken a hit. We've pivoted over being a work from home team already, and some of us having Twitch channels on our team already. Very quickly pivoted over to virtual conferences and started hosting some virtual conferences just right out of the gates to try to get people content, just so there's something else to focus on. And we're seeing a lot of other businesses following suit, in some in a much larger degree. So this is an article you posted, that it will end tech conferences as we know them. The title is "Coronavirus Will End Tech Conferences and Events as We Know Them." Yes, it's a bit of a clickbaity title, but I think there is some truth in it. So tech conferences, product launches, IT education, all that stuff's going virtual. Now, whether or not that will be a permanent change or not is definitely up for debate. But I think given the impact that this has had on flights, on airlines, on people's obviously apprehension to meet with other people, et cetera, I think the impact of this event will be long lasting in terms of tech conferences. Now, obviously, you cannot replace face-to-face interaction with a virtual face-to-face interaction. I think we still need those things. However, I think what's going to happen here, and this is me putting on my sort of
pulling out my crystal ball, so to speak, I think what's probably going to happen here is you're going to see better innovations done in the virtual conferencing technology. Even today, I mean, even though you can get a good, experience with Zoom and with Hangouts or whatever it is you're going to use, Skype, etc. They're reasonably good, but I think one of the things we haven't really considered is what does it look like across a large gathering of people? So these tech conferences typically can be as big as 50,000 people, like AWS reInvent or Build, huge conferences. How do you accommodate that in a virtual setting? I'm not just talking about the consumption, but also the interaction. And I think a lot of companies are now kind of thinking a little bit more about how can we provide an interaction not only for the attendees, but also for potential sponsors, right? So if you're a company, you want to get involved, what does that look like? And I think that with the technology we have today, TV is an easy medium to look at, right? They'll look at TV and they'll say, well, just put ads, right? They're just gonna, put the Matrix pin in the back of my head and just force feed you all this information. No one wants that. I don't think people want to be able to interact, which is why Twitch, I think, is a popular platform. People have a chat room, they can interact in that way. But I think where this is going to is an evolution of how we do virtual conferences. And so what this article basically talks about is the impact that this virus will have on them. But I think what will probably be the positive out of this is how companies like Zoom and Microsoft and Google, et cetera, consider the interaction element regarding these events, right? So, it will be interesting to see. I certainly think we're going to see into a lot more people's houses. I think we're going to have a lot of more experiences with that sort of BBC interview where the girl came waltzing into the guy's office.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have a lot more moments like that, which is fine. It just shows the human side of people, which is great. But certainly, I think if I was a shareholder in one of these technology companies, or was looking to do something with Elgato or something like that, those are going to be important. But I think it will definitely change the way in which we connect with each other, especially in a home environment.
So I'm gonna pick a piece out of the article here. It says O'Reilly Media closing in-person events division and accelerating online transition. So that is a big deal. Unfortunately, this led to 75 layoffs. So they're laying off editors and engineers and a vice president and senior vice president of that division. That's a real big downside to all of this. And I'm not going to comment in the context of O'Reilly specifically because I don't know their internal anything. I'm not going to pretend I do to say this is a good or bad decision. I don't know their financials and whatnot, but you would assume if you're going to transition from in-person to online events, you want to make sure that you don't cut too deep, that you can always repurpose people, whether it's in-person or online thing. People can learn, and people can learn how to change that direction and kind of take that brand to the online audience. So hopefully more of that happens and less of the laying off good people and not just reusing them, repurposing them for something else happens. And again, it's not to bash O'Reilly. Like I said, I don't know what the full story is behind all that, and I'm sure they probably did what they could do to save as many people as they could. But hopefully people don't.
Yeah, O'Reilly's got
panic.
some great events. I mean, O'Reilly's got some great events. Velocity being one of them. Huge fan of Velocity. Unfortunately, it's probably going to be a while since we see something like that. But I'm encouraged by what we can do on the virtual side. There was a question in the chat room that said, how do you handle the vendors who are usually there to showcase their products and services? It's a great question. So for example, my company, Octopus Deploy, we actually do sponsor or did sponsor quite a few events. And so we've had to rethink a little bit of what we're doing going forward. Excuse me. And so I think it behooves the event organizers to think a little bit outside the box of how do we incorporate this messaging. So there's a whole bunch of ideas that are being batted around. So for example, the most obvious one is you just mimic the television model. So you run an ad, maybe 30 seconds, maybe 5 minutes, whatever. You give an opportunity for a vendor, for example, to showcase their products in while the session transitions from one speaker to the next.
Hmm.
I don't know. There's other ideas like rolling banners in line, like Twitch does. So it's going to be really interesting to see, and I think it's a great question. How do we support that? Because obviously we want to make sure that the whole ecosystem is supported. I think we're going to come up with some good solutions here. I really do believe that it's not just going to be a consumption model, because I think a lot of people, like people on the chat room, they want to interact with people. And
Hmm.
so how do you do that in a way that's not disruptive? How do you do it in a way that makes sense? And how do you do it in a way that, if you get everyone talking at once, how does that work? And it might be something like a sort of like the chat roulette style, where you just basically get a random person showing up and saying, okay, your turn to ask. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, nothing. Okay, good. You're next. You're next. Ask your question. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer will be, but I think it's going to be an interesting time to see the evolution of this. Now, that being said, I think in-person events are definitely not going to happen this year.
Yeah.
So if you've got event budget for things like that, expecting to spend it in September, etc., it may get canceled. We've had a number of events canceled, unfortunately, or deferred. Hopefully next year. I mean, I'd love to say next year would be, definitely a different story, but certainly for the upcoming months, we're going to see a lot of virtual events.
Yeah, and now's not the time to panic and just like drop everything you're doing and cut, everything that's going on. It's time to think outside of the box. I know everybody hates that phrase by now, but it's time to, come up with new ideas and just, test those things out while you have those budgets still. Put them towards some new ideas and see how they evolve into whatever the next thing is. That's a better path than just panicking, not doing anything.
Oh, sure. Some of the greatest innovations ever made in human history were done during war or times of great sort of upheaval and change. And I think this is definitely a good time for that. I mean, necessity is the mother of invention. So we're going to see a lot of people wanting to provide an environment that bodes well for people who are attending these events. And so I think companies like Pluralsight are thinking a lot about this. I think a lot of event conferences like NDC, for example, are thinking about this very strategically of what they're going to do. So yeah, I think we're going to see some changes.
Yeah,
Positive changes.
I think we're going to see some good virtual events come out of this. There was some
Sure.
pretty decent ones already, but I think we're going to see a lot of bigger ones come out. And I think there's an opportunity to reach people that weren't able to go to some of these things before. It makes things more accessible, not only for people with accessibility issues, but to people from different parts of the world, different cultures,
Right.
different mobility issues. There's some people that can't get on a plane and travel and meet people.
Yep.
There's people that can't do it because the places they live in aren't financially stable enough, but they can afford an internet connection. So there's a big benefit to the virtual side of this that will come out of it.
Now, this is the one beef I have, and this I'm looking at you, hardware vendors. You got to stop putting bad cameras in your laptops. I mean, Apple still ships 720p webcams.
Ouch.
In their laptops. I know, it's unbelievable. Like, what are you doing? Like we can put 4K. You can put a 4K display or a 5K display on these things, and then have a 720p webcam. I mean, this is definitely going to change the capabilities of things going forward. I mean, you saw the necessity of good lenses because of the iPhone. People started taking photos everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think this is going to drive an innovation in the sort of webcam. We're going to see a research. Remember back a few years ago, there was this webcam. The webcams were the new hot thing. I don't know why, but Microsoft itself used to make really good webcams, and then they called that division. But for the longest time, like webcams were the thing, right? It's like, oh, I got a webcam. It does 1080p or whatever. But Apple still ships 720p cameras in their laptops. I don't get it. But I think you'll see innovations there. You may see multiple cameras. Who knows? You'll see setups. I think this is where Elgato is definitely ahead of the game, right? They've got things they're going to have a consumer division of some kind, right? Where it's like, very affordable green screens, very affordable lighting, very affordable camera setups, etc. I think there's an opportunity there to facilitate that.
Yeah, we'll probably see some new hardware come out of it. I think the pendulum swung a little bit in the past, where you were talking about there used to be like a big uptick in webcams. Part of the downfall, I think, was the fact that they got smaller and embedded in our devices, and that more devices, came out of it. People used to only have the option of video calling from their camera mounted to their big desktop PC. And
Yeah,
then cell phones came out and they have cameras in them, and those are everywhere now. So
I
you
know.
kind of
I know.
saw
We're going to
that
see that same.
drop.
We'll probably see the same revolution that we saw with cameras and such on the phone,
Hmm.
and we're going to see it now with. Hopefully, we'll see it now with laptops because forever everyone ignored it. Like no one does video conferencing. I'm like, oh really? Well, just wait because everyone's going to do it now.
Yeah,
So
we need to have a simple way to just tether our phone to the PC and use the camera from that thing. Usually the phones on the back are phenomenal. And could you imagine? I mean, just hook a USB cable up to. I don't know if I don't have an Apple device these days. I don't know if they even have ports
oh,
on
you
them
can do it.
anymore.
You can do it. You can stream. You can stream through QuickTime. You can stream through your phone directly, connect it to your MacBook if you want.
Okay, good deal.
Certainly capable. Yeah.
Yeah, that would
I don't
that'd be
know.
a
I
good
don't know how
option.
feasible it is. Possibly. Yeah. I know you can do it in a variety of
Hey,
platforms.
it,
I find the iPad's really good for that.
if it
So
if it's an excuse for Apple to sell another dongle, I'm sure it's something that you can do really easily.
that's right. I mean, I've always made the joke that I almost feel like a fisherman with a tackle box going around to conferences, because of all the dongles you have to pull around, right? So
Yeah, just what we need. More plastic bits. Thanks,
that's
Apple.
right.
We've
Yeah.
got some shout outs here to different conferences that went virtual this year in the
Sure.
near term. So Bald Bearded Builder says live coder conference is coming. That's a Jeff Fritz production, I believe. That's going to be on April 9th. React Europe, TJ Vantel says, is streaming for free to everyone in May.
Sweet. That's
Um,
awesome.
I think that's all of the conferences there, and then there was a comment earlier about kids doing homeschooling and stuff now, which is really actually kind of hit and miss in the U.S. I don't know what it's like
Yeah,
over there in Australia with you, or what it's like
it is.
globally,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's basically county by county in the U.S., which
Yeah.
is absolutely insane. Like you'd think a country this large would have some organization. And I won't go off on a tangent, but as you've seen with other things, school is no different. So we have coworkers that are in other states and counties that have no schooling at all because they can't figure it out. And then I'm out in the middle of rural Kentucky, in the middle of nowhere, and we have Google Classroom and the teachers Zoom meeting with everybody daily. So I mean, it's one end of the spectrum to the other, so it's pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I talked to my wife about this. The reality is, I think that until schools have a solid idea of what they need to teach from a curriculum perspective, I think this is your opportunity as a parent to kind of focus on life skills, and then maybe come up with a little bit of your own. I mean, obviously, you want to follow the curriculum that's given by your school, but some schools are not in the best place. Some schools are better situated than others. But I think this would be a great time to talk about things that they don't normally talk about in school, like finance. Like they never teach you how to manage your money in school. Why not teach your kids about finance? Talk about how the banking system works. Talk about how loans work. Talk about how to get a budget. Home economics. That's another one that I think they don't teach in school that often, unless it's like an optional course, like how to cook, how to cut vegetables, gardening. We're all at home. I mean, for people who don't obviously have a garden, I think take up a hobby and teach kids how to fend for themselves. I'm recently showing my kids how to you know you know makeshift tools in terms of sticks, like the sort of backwoods type life skills, like how to fish, how to listen to nature, that sort of thing. We're next to a park, and so we have the opportunity to do that. Obviously, not everyone does. I'm well aware of that. But this is your opportunity to talk about things like history that they don't talk about in schools, or other subjects that I think are woefully absent from our school curriculum. And so I think as a parent, you have to kind of take that on full bore and teach your kids, because obviously no one. I mean, a Zoom call will be fine, but I mean, it's not going to teach a kid everything. So
Yeah, there's some other online things that look like they're getting ready to launch. Um, I'm trying to remember the name of the guy. I just saw it come out the other day. The one that did Reading Rainbow and is on Star Trek. The Trekkies are going to beat me up for this. I know it. He said
LeVar Burton.
yeah, LeVar Burton. He's
God, Ed, you just lost your geek card there, dude.
only Star Trek geek cred, which I don't mind losing. So he looks like he's going to be doing some type of live streaming
cool.
thing.
Nice.
Said he's
I like
trying to
it.
bring back like the reading rainbow type of thing, but online.
Yeah.
There's I have to start collecting these things. I saw there's some other online learning tools that are going public, and I think Microsoft even loosened up the reins on some of their Minecraft learning portfolio, which
Yeah.
they have like different levels of that thing. So there's like the code learning thing that
Right.
they made available for everybody last year. There's also like a Minecraft for like teachers, and they can build like curriculum inside of it. And I think you had to
This is
have,
like Second Life for kids, you know?
well, yeah, like teachers can go in, and I've seen just demos of it, but they can apparently go in and like make like lessons inside of it to try to get
Right.
engagement from the kids. I think
Yeah.
they broadened the licensing for that. So it used to only be schools that had an Office 365 subscription.
Right.
In our
Just thinking through that,
state,
dude, like I'm sorry, I can just see kids like, because it's Minecraft and I've seen my kids play Minecraft.
Mhm.
All right, we've created the school, everyone come in virtually. All right, everyone sit down, blah blah blah. And then that one kid is like brings in like whatever, the dynamite or something like that. Is like, all right, let's go over here, or like launches 1,000 chickens if it's in creator mode, sort of thing, totally disrupting the class, sort of thing. And it's like, I don't know if you can. I think
We all
there's
know
I
which
don't
kid
know
you were
Minecraft.
in class now.
All right. I know there's that mode you can put non-destructive mode or whatever, but I know that it's I don't know. I mean, I think
The
it'll be
online
interesting.
curriculum one, I think, is a different mode for Minecraft altogether. I don't even know if it's the same, like
Oh, okay.
100% the same
Yeah.
engine, but this is like a very specific mode where teachers can create like actual like lesson plans to try to get like interaction from,
I think it's a great
make it
idea. I
fun.
think I think anything that can help. I mean, especially if you want to, connect with kids, which is super hard. Trying to do it in a medium that they understand, I think will be nothing but goodness. But
Here
I
it
think
is.
I think to that end, if you do have a chance to teach your kids something outside of school, do it. I think this is the best time for it.
So I just popped it into chat because when I started talking about it, first of all, I've only seen videos of it, so I don't want to just like completely make up like this fictitious thing. So it started sounding like make believe. So I
This is great.
put it in chat. There it is, and it's actually called Minecraft Education Edition. And
Oh, that's
there's like
awesome.
classroom resources and everything. I heard they had loosened up the requirements for this.
Okay.
So there's an extinction safari. There's course hour of code. Remote learning. So there's all sorts of stuff. I think they're still developing like the curriculum that's in here. But I think the idea of it is to have, science lessons and history lessons and things
Right.
like that presented in the Minecraft world so it's more engaging for kids. I don't know what teachers are able to create, but you all
Yeah.
can read about it there and see what it's all about. It seemed like a really
I'm
interesting
just looking at
thing.
it now. Yeah, this is so Second Life, dude. This was like when you and I were a little
Second
younger.
Life,
Like
yeah.
it was total. It's total Second Life. Yeah. Huh. Cool.
Yeah, so
I love it.
I think this still may be outdated because this was a recent happening. And it says if you have a valid OS 365 EDU account, you
Right.
get it for free. All of our schools in Kentucky, as far as I'm aware, are on Google Classroom. So we haven't been able to access this, but I think they opened it up broader.
Oh,
And when I say broader, I
so they
don't
opened the auth
know
model.
exactly if that means just Office 365.
Right.
But if I remember right, it's just a little bit broader than the school system. So
Okay.
it may be you know, if you have an O365 account, you can get it now. But there's a similar edition that doesn't have the curriculum part, but lets you code and stuff that's available to everybody, and that's pretty cool too.
Awesome, love it.
And then people are asking me if I could teach Minecraft and Blazor in Minecraft. I think that is the jump the shark moment that we all need in our lives right now. Is the Blazor Minecraft mashup? Yeah, I don't think I'm going to go there, but
I'd watch it
if they can
fun.
bake the Blazor syntax in. I mean, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I think there's definitely this is the innovation that we need. This is the sort of ideas that we need because we're in this now, right? So we need it. So I think that anything that we can do in terms of this would be great.
Yeah, and pulling up the headline I quoted to. Oh, whoops. Maybe this was it. Okay, so this is the latest information on it. It says March 10th. So I don't know what it was locked down to before, but apparently there was another requirement deeper than just having an Office subscription for your school. So this is the latest update. So yeah, you still need an O365 EDU account. There is a free demo lesson if you do not. So there's a free demo of it. So they're still gating it. It looks like for a little while. We'll have to see how that all pans out. Still a neat thing to keep your eye on. And you know they might be gating it like this just because it's not ready for that many users. So over the years we might see this come to more schools and stuff. But they are paying attention. It looks like they're trying to turn this out to more folks as this outbreak continues.
Hey, anything to get my kids off Fortnite and onto something learning
until Fortnite Learning Edition comes out, and then yeah,
that would be a bad idea. No guns. You can't hurt anyone, and you can't craft anything. You just stand there and run around and dance if you want it. There's dancing. You can do the dancing if you want. So yeah,
right.
But yeah, just getting back to what I said earlier, use this as an opportunity. I think a lot of us will. You definitely want to look back at a time like this and say, what did I do to take advantage? Because it is an opportunity. What did I do to take advantage of this time with my kids?
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's I'm teaching them how to fish. I'm teaching them how to understand the land. To be one with nature, so to speak. I know it sounds kind of, hey man, sort of thing, but I built a raised garden. My wife's trying to teach them how to, grow vegetables. We've got some chickens now, so taking care of those, and yeah, just kind of interesting projects.
Yeah, this Hour of Code website, I pulled up the Minecraft edition because we're on that subject. This is a really good one that I've done with the kids. Couldn't get it to stick with them, but it was still fun to do for a day. There's a lot of projects on here. So if you go into projects, there's like all kinds of cool stuff. We were able to hook this up to Minecraft on the Xbox. And I was on the computer like showing them how to code and stuff. And they were on the Xbox like running around the world that was being like altered by me coding. And that was a lot of fun. You can find the bits to do all that on here. There's like a connector that you download from one of the Minecraft subjects.
You start pulling out those empty threats that you do as a parent when you're driving and they're screaming in the back, and then so now you're in Minecraft, like, I'll turn this gravity off right now if you don't start behaving yourself, like I'll take away all your tools right now if you don't start behaving yourself.
Yeah, you're the Minecraft god, and you can just pull. Like I'm gonna take away, instead of I'm gonna take away your phone and TV. You're like, I'm gonna take away your zombie pigmen.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, it's all happening.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the specific one because folks in the chat room were interested. They're like, I'm gonna share this with my kids. This is awesome.
Yeah.
There is, what is this thing called? It's like the Minecraft connector.
Okay.
Something like that. Code connector. Make code for Minecraft. Here we go. This is the one you guys really need. Make code for Minecraft. This is the one that was educational only, and they spun out to everybody. And you can actually connect it's like a WebSocket connection that your editor gets with your Xbox console if you're on the same network. And then you can open up a level on the Xbox and actually like hack away at things. And there's demos that you can run. And like we were doing one where it teaches like if-then loops. And
right.
like one of them was, I think it was the raining chicken one that's right here. And you start by like making it rain chickens, and it like loops through some code. And
no good can come of this.
No, but it basically like it creates a what are those things called, like a particle emitter, and it dumps chickens into the Minecraft realm. And then you can I changed it from chickens to something else, and then we ended up with dynamite. And we had it like raining.
Dude, I'm telling you, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah. And the kids were running around. And I was like, this is cool. What if I change it to lava and like ignited the dynamite and like just nuked the entire landscape? And they were just like in tears laughing.
Why do we always? I know. Why do we always do that? It was like, hey, great world. Everything's nice. Even the music to Minecraft's very peaceful. And then we end up blowing it up or something. I don't know why as a species we have to do this all the time.
Oh, there's such an analogy to make right now. And I think I'm just going to spare everyone the expense of that.
Yeah.
No,
this is cool.
We'll move on
like
to I think we should close out the show.
Sure.
It's been a lot of fun, John. We'll have to do this again. We're doing this every other week. We'll see if we can we'll continue that cadence, but maybe we'll pop in some extra shows. Maybe we'll try to spin it up to every week if we can. Depends on my workload. I've got a lot on my plate lately, so we'll see what we can do. But it was a lot of fun to have you on, and we'll definitely give everybody a heads up on Twitter and stuff before we do this again. Give you a little more lead time to join in. Appreciate everybody in the chat room showing up and leaving their comments and asking questions. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Everybody stay safe out there. Keep your eye
wash your
on.
hands.
If you're in the chat room, hit the follow button on the Code It Live channel. You get all kinds of cool like shows that we're springing up. TJ from the chat room is he's doing a show this week on Wednesday, I believe. I think Alyssa is going to be on, if not this week, next week, doing some stuff. And Sam Basu and myself will be on here from time to time. So make sure you hit follow. You'll get notifications. It just says we're going live. That's all it does. It says it's going live. Code It Live is live. So you can just jump on. Since you're home, you want to hear some other people, and remember that the world is still turning out there. So make sure you follow us on Twitter as well. And thanks everybody. We'll catch you again soon.
See you guys.